Welcome to the metaphysical journey. I'm tempted to say welcome back, but it's your first time here. For me, this is the second round because I recorded this reading already once. It messed up, so I have to do it again. The joy for that is that it'll be faster because I already know what to say. Anyway, I'm happy that you're here. This is a look at the week ahead, what you will possibly be facing. This could also be something that's already shown up, or it may be something you've been dealing with for a while, but in the week ahead is maybe the time that you're ready to actually take action on it. Now, this is a reading for the general collective, so it won't resonate with everyone. And also, it's something that may resonate in the future. So just keep it in mind as I move forward. Also, as I pull the cards, please use your intuition on them yourself because you'll also get your own messages. It's really cool how that works. So I'm going to be pulling from some different sources for this. And to start with, to set the tone, I pulled a rune, and the rune is Tewas or Tiwas. It can be pronounced both ways. And this is about a person's personal values and truths, what they know to be right for them. This is about having the courage to stand up for what you believe in and stay true to your own personal ethics or belief system, actually. So, on the week ahead, this is going to be challenged. This is what you're going to be dealing with, standing up for what you know to be right for you and not backing down. Now, in this reading, definitely the sense is there that this is it's a life moment for a lot of people. We all know what we believe and what we stand for, but we keep that to ourselves. We just go through life doing what we know to be right, and we never really speak up or speak out about why we do that. And I think that this is part of the lesson of taking that stand on something to say, this isn't right. Now, to kind of hone in on that a little bit better, I also pulled a card from a deck called What's the T? Now, with this deck, it's nice. The T is that whoever wrote it used a English translator, and it doesn't do so great. So the card that came up is cyberbully, and says you are being bullied online or there is someone that suffered from it, etc. Now, the way they wrote that, the last reading I had to read it a couple of times. I was like, what does that even mean? So it's you're being bullied online or there is someone that suffered from it and you've been seeing that happen. Now, bullied online can go many different ways. It can be, obviously, it's kind of a social media thing that you're either seeing bullying or possibly you're hearing some real trashy talk that's taking place, and you know that it's wrong because maybe they're talking about a certain person, you know that person, you know it's all lies, and you're just watching this happen and you're seeing it kind of spin, and you haven't been saying anything, but you really have felt some time that something needs to be done. That may be a situation where you speak out and say, this is wrong, stop that. Or you know a person that's doing it and you feel inclined to tell them you need to cut that out because what you're doing is not right. You're trashing someone and you shouldn't be doing that. You also could have possibly you have loved ones that are being bullied online, and it's like someone needs to do something. Why is this happening? It may be a time in which you are debating, do I say something? Do I contact the school? Do I contact the parents? I mean, what do I do? There's many different ways this can play out, but it comes down to you are feeling the need and the push to say something to try to stop that from continuing. The Oracle deck I'm going to be pulling from is the Energy Oracle cards by Sandra Ann Taylor. And the first card that came out is Cornucopia. The Cornucopia is about abundance, having all kinds of great stuff. And this is interesting because when I looked at this, initially I thought cancel culture. No, what does it have to do with cornucopia? Because often we think of cornucopia, we think of the Pilgrims, and the Pilgrims didn't really have cancel culture yet. But anytime a person speaks out, they fear some type of retaliation or repercussion as a result of speaking the truth. We live in a society that doesn't like the truth. It really doesn't. It's a society of groupthink. Everyone kind of goes together, even though separately they don't agree, but they're afraid to disagree because they want to, they want to go along to get along. And that lone voice in the wilderness often gets everyone else turns on them like, don't rock the cart here, just keep your mouth shut, even though people know that what that lone voice is saying is true. And that's a fear that we have. Am I going to face some type of retaliation for speaking the truth? Whether it's cyberbullying or anything. Let's say in the workplace, you see some practices going on that are just not right. They're illegal or unethical. It isn't right. And it's like someone needs to say something, or you have been seeing something go on and on. You see someone being discriminated against, for example. And it's like someone needs to stop this, but no one's doing it. Am I the person to do that? And if I do, what is everyone going to think about me? And it's this fear, and it gets easier with time to say nothing, even though you're telling the person that's receiving this horrible treatment, I'm so sorry this is happening to you. And you sincerely feel that way. I'm sorry this is happening to you, but I'm also sorry that I'm not going to do anything to stop it. So often when we say nothing, we actually are part of the process keeping that going, because we know that it's not right, but we're not saying anything that is not right. That is a scary place to be in, definitely. It could be something that you're faced with in the week ahead in some way of making that decision. Do I stand up and speak up? Or do I just keep sitting here and saying nothing and just feeling further and further behind? Life lesson on this is that at some point, you do have a voice and you need to use it. It's choosing, it's not like, is this the hill I want to die on? But it's choosing the right thing of knowing this is right. The timing's good. This has to stop. And sometimes all it takes is one lone voice to truly turn the tide and make people change how they do, how they act, and how they behave, and the things that they say. So change can happen. Change rarely happens as part of a collective. It takes one person to kind of point that out, of saying, hey, there's a dead elephant in the room. We need to talk about this. Remember the emperor's new clothes. It took one person saying, you're not wearing any clothes. And that's a weird example, but it's kind of what it is. It takes one person to call it out. And this may be a week in which you're faced with that. The next card that came out was the World. The World. Now, this really stumped me. The first time I pulled this up, I'm like, well, what is this? Could it be more vague? Why don't we get like the Crossroads or something? That would be so much better, right? But the World. This one, when you look at this card, it's a person that's on a pier, and they're looking up at, I guess, the world. I guess that's supposed to be Earth up there. I don't know where they're at, but whatever, they're looking at it. And it's got a real feeling of loneliness to it. And what I sensed from this before, and I'm just going to repeat the exact same thing that I said before, is that you may be feeling, and you may have been for some time, that you are truly all alone in the world. You see things happening all around you. It's just things are spiraling out of control, and you're looking at it saying to yourself, asking yourself, do people not see what's happening? Do they not see that that's wrong? Am I the only one that sees this? Is everyone blind? You ever feel that way? That you just are watching things just completely erode all around you, and you wonder why no one is doing anything. At the same time, you wonder, why am I afraid to say anything? If no one else has seen it, maybe it's just me. It's not just you. Other people see it too. They're just afraid to say anything. But the world, you can't single-handedly change the world, but you can certainly shape your world to be what you want it to be. And to know that, going back to Tewas, the room, is having the courage to speak your mind for what you know to be right for you. Because sometimes when you express that out loud, you put it into words, it's no longer something that's just been in your thoughts that you're saying, well, this is how I want to conduct my life. You're actually telling people, I am the conductor of my life, and this is how I conduct my life. And, it's just your opinion. It's a perspective. You're not forcing it off on them, but you're saying, based on how I conduct my life, that is not right. I would never do that. And the reason why I wouldn't do that is because it's rude, it's disrespectful, it's discriminatory. Imagine how that person feels. How would you feel if that happened to you? Or if it's, related to children in school, ask someone, how would you feel if that was happening to your child? Now, they would feel probably the exact same way you feel about it, because they don't really think about their child being impacted. They're thinking about someone else's, some unknown child being impacted. They don't necessarily put two and two together, and they're not going to say much, more than likely, because they don't want it happening to their child, and they worry about that being the retaliation. So we live in a world of fear, and as you look at the world around you, the way that you are seeing the world and what's going on is more than likely 100% spot on. So, what are you going to do about it? Maybe a question you have to ask yourself. Now, the third card, when I pulled this the first time, I'm like, well, great. It's healer of the ages, and it's Jesus. Now, when Jesus shows up, it's like, oh God, well, I mean, literally, oh God, Jesus has shown up. Now, what do we do? Now, this is interesting. Now, what's kind of funny about this, it's weird. And I used the expression earlier today, actually, in a conversation with someone, and it's funny and people laugh, but it does kind of get a point across. My last partner, he had the funniest sense of humor. He really did. He used to make me laugh all the time. And there was once he was telling me a story, and anytime you have two gay men telling a story, it's going to be good. It's very dramatic and it's funny. But he was telling me a story about something that had happened, something that one person was doing to another person, and it wasn't right. And when he was finished, he stopped and he said, "That ain't right with Jesus." Now, I grew up in Arkansas. I had never heard that expression, and I've heard all the ones related to Jesus. My personal favorite is "Get off the cross, we need the wood." But I had never heard that one, but it was so fitting. So, what does it have to do with Jesus? Well, we got this card, so apparently he's involved, and he's definitely watching, definitely. But looking at the bigger sense of this is showing that, to me, what I'm picking up on this is that whatever you're facing, this is about divine timing. You're not alone in this. You definitely have support from the other side. Now, if this has divine timing around it, that means this is a lesson that you are meant to learn. Also, too, I'm going to say with this one is that when you think of Jesus, or God the Father, or some type of a father figure, imagine, I'd mentioned earlier about if this related to bullying in school, and that happens a lot. Imagine how a parent feels when they learn from their children that they are being bullied. That's got to be devastating to them. And it would be, absolutely. It's like, one of my children is being harassed, and they also see what happens to their children over time, how they start to lose confidence, they start to withdraw because they're being harassed by people. You can imagine how the divine, when they look down on you and they see what you go through, and they see the struggles that you have, and they also see that you want so much to do and say what's right, but you're scared. That's hard. You have all kinds of support behind you. So if this is divine timing for you, that means this is a lesson, and the lesson is learning to speak your truth. Your truth being what you know to be right for you, how you conduct your life, how you show up in the world, and how you want other people to know that when it comes to me and my house, this is what we're going to do. You're not telling them what they have to do. You're just letting it be known of how you stand on it. You know, a lot of people are really going to respect you for that. Believe it or not, they have a lot of respect for a person that is authentic and speaks their truth and stands behind their words. We live in a world where there's so much facade and fakeness. We don't believe anyone. I mean, do we believe our politicians? Do we believe the media? Do we believe our doctors? Do we believe our teachers? Do we believe our next door neighbors? I do. My neighbors are actually really great. But you know where I'm going with that. We don't believe anyone because it seems like there's so much deceit and everyone has an agenda. They're out to get us for something, to get money from us, to use us. It's a time where there's zero trust, really zero trust. Even with some of your closest acquaintances, you don't trust them either. So it's a weird time. And it takes one person to stand up and speak the truth. And when other people that probably feel the same way, they're just waiting for one person to say something and they'll slowly start jumping on that bandwagon too, because you're more than likely not the only one that's seeing what's happening in the world around you. It's seen by a lot of people. It's finding the bravery to speak up and see what happens. It's kind of like that, those movies where you have something happens and there's silence in the audience, and then one person starts clapping, and then more people start clapping, and before long, everybody's clapping. It can be a situation like that. So I wanted to end with a message from the Guides by James von Prague, and I pulled a card, and this was interesting. The card that came out was everyone has value. Everyone has value. And that includes you. You're part of everyone. So during this week ahead, or the time that follows, as you really think about speaking your truth in whatever form that it takes, remember that you matter. You have a voice, and your voice is very important. It's just as important as any influencer, probably more so than any influencer that has millions of followers, because you speak truth. You speak your truth, and that's important. There are many people that also share your truth. They don't realize they share it because they've never heard it from you. So if you're a person that has been silent for way too long, why were you silent? More than likely, you were silent because you were afraid, and that's okay. And also because maybe you were thinking that you didn't matter, that no one cared what you had to think. Maybe as a child growing up, you were told to be, just keep your mouth shut, be silent, be seen, not heard. Many things. You might have had some type of an abusive relationship in which your opinion never mattered, and you were always kind of belittled or put down by people around you. And over time, you just accepted it as no one cares. I'll just keep my mouth shut. If I'm quiet, at least they'll leave me alone. First of all, I'm so sorry that that happened to you. It should never, ever have happened because you do matter. You have a voice, you have a mind, you have thoughts, and people need to know that because more people share your thoughts than you realize. They just haven't heard you express them. And maybe this is the time, maybe that's the divine lesson for you to finally find your voice and share that. I've said in readings before, you are here on this earth at this time for a very specific reason. You're here to make a difference. You are here because your very presence changes the energy of wherever you are. When you walk into an environment, you alter the environment by your energy. And when you step out and you start using your voice and speaking your truth, your energy is just going, the vibration is going to get stronger and higher, and you're going to be even more influential. People may not understand what they're feeling, but whenever you're around, they're going to know, wow, I feel better. And if you raise their vibration, and they're not in that low vibration. That low vibration is where all the criticism and the anger and the hate, that's where that comes from. But if you start speaking your voice and you are putting your energy into a situation, it's going to raise it up. And over time, other people are going to start rising up with you to where, have you ever had a person tell you, wow, you just make me want to be a better person? Have you ever heard that? More than likely you have. That's exactly what's going on because you do matter. You have value. Never forget that. Never. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. All that matters is this point forward because you make a difference. Never forget that. You're a beautiful person. I hope you see it. Thank you all so much for following me on the metaphysical journey, and I hope that you have a great week to come and also have a great evening. Good night.